Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you may be in the world. And welcome to the home of champions. Welcome to Karting, Genk, and welcome to the Rotax Max Challenge Belgium. It's time to crown our champions here this weekend, and it's time to give away 4 grand finals tickets for later on this year. We have 46 drivers here this weekend. It's a great turnout once again here at the home of champions. And how does the home of champions look then, you might ask me? Well, let's go and have a look at the track map now then. Here is the home of champions, and well, you know it by now. The home of champions, one of the most famous karting tracks in Belgium, and we've been here before. This track, I mean, loads and loads of history. Max Verstappen started his career, of course, here. And we're looking to kickstart the careers of many, many young drivers here this weekend as well. With a ticket to the grand finals for some of them. We have 4 categories here this weekend: Minimax, Minimax Rookie, those all race together as always, Junior Max, DD2 and DD2 Masters, and the Senior Max class, of course. Here we go then, Rotax Max Challenge Belgium in Genk. Of course, this track clockwise and comes in at a total distance of 1,360 meters. The total amount of corners, well, it is quite a few here at Karting Genk. It is a total amount of 12 corners. That little kink there, some might count that as a corner. We don't, because it is flat out in absolutely every kart that you take around this track. Of course, turn 1 and the Europa Laan, of course, where the karts overtake the cars going past behind them. Here we are on the pre-grid then for the Minimax and Minimax Rookies. And well, how is it looking then in the Minimax and Minimax Rookie Championships? Well, here we go then. We have a 7-minute heat coming up for you, plus 1 lap. But in the championship, it's Jeff Verbeke leading the way ahead of Matthias Verreken. And then it's Leon Herbots. He is the first driver eligible for a grand finals ticket this weekend. He finds himself in 3rd in the championship. It's a crazy close championship, by the way, in the Minimax championship. There is 10 points between Jeff Verbeke at the top and Leon Herbots in P3. But his closest challenger also eligible for that ticket. And here this weekend is Jesse Mone. Victor Ruits not here this weekend, sadly. And well, Leon Herbots did the job in qualifying. He'll be finding himself on pole position later on today. Here is Laurens van Vlaanderen. The 170. He will be starting in 4th place on the grid today for heat number 1 and the only heat here today. So the schedule for today then, for all classes, not only for Mini and Mini Rookie, but also for the Junior Max, the DD2 and the DD2 Masters, and the Senior Max, is as follows. We have a heat race now, then we have a little pause for lunch later on after all the heats have been. Then we go straight into the pre-final and then into the final later on today. The event will run from 11:15-ish to 16:30-ish. Standing next to his cart at the moment, not sitting in it, is Mick Klinkers. Cool, calm and collected. For sure looks cool how he's standing there, that's for sure. There he is, look at that. Mick Klinkers, cool, calm, collected, as I said. And with Mick Klinkers in P12 in the championship, he could do a tremendous job here this weekend if he manages to put himself somewhere near the front for the pre-final. Keep in mind, this heat is not scoring any points. The only thing it will do is set the grid for the pre-final. And that's the race where you gather your points. That was looking into the eyes of our leading driver, eligible for a Grand Finals ticket, Leon Herbots in the 198, starting on the pole position. Jeff Verbeke and Matthias Verreke, both in front of him in the championship. Matthias Verreke starting in P8. And Jeff Verbeke is not here this weekend. So the battle at the top is between Matthias Verreke in P2. That's the 194, or the 154, excuse me. And Leon Herbots in the 198. Your first driver eligible for a Grand Finals ticket. Here we go then. Let's get rolling with the Mini Max and Mini Max Rookie classes. And while we do that, we'll have a look at the starting grid for Heat 1 of the day. And as I mentioned earlier, it is Leon Herbots who finds himself in pole position in that 198 with Mick Klinkers alongside him. Then Dejan Habets in P3, Laurens van Vlaanderen in P4, Mino de Kousmaker in 5th, Noah Steehouder in P6, then Tren van Melik in P7, Matthias Verreke in P8, Jesse Monen in 9th, 10th is Julian Jansen, 11th Sasha Ajabri, and in P12 Daan Hillen. That's your starting grid for this first heat of today. My name is Daan Pepels. I'll be guiding you through all of the action today. It's not your usual Alex Goldsmith that you're used to. Alex is having fun at Misano with Porsche Cup Suisse, or Porsche Challenge Suisse, and well, I wish him all the best in Misano. But I will tell him that he is missing out on some mega action here this weekend. It's gonna be majestic. The weather is great at the circuit, and we're expecting more of the same today. No rain in the area, as of yet at least. And let's hope that it will stay a nice and sunny day later on as well. Bit overcast at the minute, but it is due to clear up later on today. Drivers still frantically trying to warm up their tires in an attempt to get the best possible tires off the start. Most important here is get through turn 1, 2 and 3 cleanly. And that'll be half your job done already. They're told to slow down a little more, and here we go then. With the 5 red lights on the gantry, we go into the tram lines. And as soon as those lights go out, we're underway and racing, and they do at the first time of asking. On the left-hand side of screen, Leon Herbots, right-hand side of screen, Mick Klinkers, who takes P1 in the turn 1. A little further back, Laurens van Vlaanderen also, as we have a couple of spinners in contact at turn 1. 106, Mino de Kousmaker is also involved in that. Julian Jansen, I think, was also, and Sasha also involved in that. Drivers further back in the grid. No way of avoiding that. As we go too wide into the hairpin. But off that start, it is Mick Klinkers taking the lead in this heat. Leon Herbots will slot in right behind him. Will wait and patiently take his time. Here comes the run though from Laurens van Vlaanderen, who had a great run coming out of the last corner. Pulls alongside The 154 of Matthias Verreek, who had a great start as well, started on the 4th row and is up to P3. Gained 5 positions on the opening lap and takes P2 or P3 away again from Laurens van Vlaanderen into turn 1. Keeps P3, but he has allowed this top 2 to drive away a little. Mick Klinkers and Leon Herbots, the top 2 as they were at the start of this race, just in reversed order. Here's that battle between Dejan Habets as well. And like I said, Matthias Verreek. Dejan Habets has gotten past both Laurens van Vlaanderen and Matthias Verreek on that lap. We're looking to open up that gap. To the outside though goes Laurens van Vlaanderen. Can he make his way round? No, he can't. We'll have the inside coming back onto the start-finish straight. And he will take P4 away now from Matthias Verreek. So after a great opening lap for him, he's dropping back slightly through the field now. Most important though is that you just don't get a front fairing or anything in this race. Setting yourself up much better for the pre-final later on. 7 minutes plus 1 lap for all classes. So we're still looking at the battle between Habets van Vlaanderen and Verreek. Gaps have opened up slightly. Race is settling down. There's a great battle going on behind them though. Big scrap going on. Here's that scrap in your screen. Leading that scrap is Jesse Mone. And the 118 of Trent van Melig behind him. Then the 123 of Julian Jansen. And the 112 of Noah Steenhouders, who hasn't had the best of starts in this heat. Has dropped back slightly. But plenty of time for him to regain positions lost, as he is on his way to do so. Trent van Melig still on the back of the Haas chassis. Milo de Kousmaker. Will also look for an opportunity to get back to this fight. Jesse Mone. There you go, there's the pass. Forced it though, forced the issue. Great overtake by Trent van Melig. As he now leads them down the Europa Laan. There you go, overtaking cars in the background. That's what I told you earlier on. That's the speeds we're carrying here. Great being able to look into the visor of drivers behind. Look at that. Giving the helmet a little nudge. But Jesse Mone dropping back now. Look at the gap. That's... oh! Something's rubbing against the tire there. That could be catastrophic later on. Look at the tire smoke coming off. That's the 123 of Julian Jansen. Oh no! The 154 of Matthias Verreek, who had such a good start, is off. And where exactly is that? Still that tire smoke there, and that is gone. Is that tire smoke or is that an engine? No, that's tire smoke. And he's gotten the technical flag. The 123. You'll see that now. Yeah. Speed's gone out of that car as well. So unlucky for Julian Jansen. will have to retire from this race. He'll see the technical flag now, and he'll know that his race is over. He'll drive the wheels off of it though. And he'll have an opportunity to come back in the pre-final, but so tough for the 123. It's Mick Klinkers still leading the way now ahead of Leon Herbots for the lead. This is the battle for P3 now. Laurens van Vlaanderen and Dejan Habets. Dejan Habets ahead of Laurens van Vlaanderen. Time has run out now for our competitors, so we'll have +1 lap after this. Next lap will be your last lap of the race. The 123 has come into pit lane, but what exactly happened there? So we have multiple drivers actually with trouble out on the racetrack. So we still look at the battle for P3. There you go, there's the 110 also having trouble. That is Jesse Mone. Been a tough race for a couple of these youngsters. They'll look to come back later on though. Jesse Mone, Matthias Verreken. I think Jesse will also come into the pits. So we are on the final lap of the race. Mick Klinkers, Leon Herbots. Still only 4 tenths between them. And here is your leader of the race, Mick Klinkers. As here he comes to ride the final corner. And Mick Klinkers will start the weekend like he wanted. He wins the heat ahead of Leon Herbots. He does basically everything he needs to do to grab that finals ticket, that grand finals ticket later on today in the final. There you go, thumbs up from Mick Klinkers to Leon Herbots. Leon knows what's at stake here. So does Mick Klinkers. So a couple of drivers with issues then in this race. Julian Jansen, Jesse Mone and Matthias Verreken, who had to retire from this race early. But your winner, Mick Klinkers, ahead of Leon Herbots, then Dejan Habets in third. Fourth is Laurens van Vlaanderen, Tren van Melek in P5, Noah Steenhouders in P6, Sasha Al-Jabrail in P7, Müller de Kousmaker in P8 en Daan Hille in P9. But that was Mini and Mini Rookie for you. And as always, these young drivers provide us with awesome racing out there on track. Intervention vehicle now picking up all those stranded alongside the track. Of which I think there was only one. There you go, actually none of those drivers involved in that lap 1, turn 1 moment had to retire. It was all drivers separate from that incident. Here, that moment of Mick Klinkers crossing the line ahead of Leon Herbots, and taking the podium is the 131 of Dejan Habats. Top 3 stay as they are. The only change there being Mick Klinkers overtaking Leon Herbots. All right, up next then is the juniors. And in our junior championship, things are looking as follows. Driver is able to fight for a pre-final ticket are Vince van der Halen. He's also leading the championship on 213 points after 2 rounds. Max Sadurski is behind him. He's Dutch, however, though, so he cannot grab a grand finals ticket. Lars Lumbers in P3 finds himself 11 points behind Vince. He's also eligible for a grand finals ticket. And then Thomas Verheijen in 5th in the championship, also eligible for a grand finals ticket. Where are these drivers starting, you might ask me? Well, Vince van der Halen, leader of the championship, starts in P4 behind Lieke van Boekel. Lars Lambos will start behind Lieke van Boekel, but also behind Vince van der Halen in P5, the 242. And Thomas Verheijen, well, he is not attending this weekend, sadly. Next up on the list is Bran van der Wekke. And Bran will start in P2. Finds himself 7th in the championship. Jente Mone, also one of the drivers who could still grab a grand finals ticket. She starts in P8 in this race. As we look at the pre-grid. No one pulling a Mick Klinkers here. Standing next to the cart until they're told to go. Only difference here being that Max Sadurski in the 297 is lined up straight instead of angled at 45 degrees. All right, here we go then. We're about to get going with the juniors. For the last time this season, they'll drive a heat in the Rolex Max Challenge, Belgium. They get one more go before points will be awarded. As we see on this stretch, drivers frantically weaving, throwing the kart from left to right, doing basically everything they can to get a little bit of temperature into those tires by the time they head to turn 1 on lap number 1. What we saw with the Mini and Mini rookies was that the outside lane, the lane from Mick Klinkers, took the lead there, Mick, into turn 1. So watch out this time though for Bran van der Wekke doing exactly the same, and he could use a win. 55 points for a win later on. We do have one drop result. All right, here we go then. Let's have a look at the grid before we go anywhere in this race. They're going down the Europa line. We don't have plenty of time here. Max Sadurski and Bran van der Wekke start on the front row of the grid. Lieke van Boekel and Vince van der Halen on the second row of the grid. Las Lambers, Justin Vonk in P5 and P6 respectively. Then Nicolas Marchand and Jente Mone in 7th and 8th respectively as well. 5th row of the grid, Boris Verhagen and David Miette. 6th row of the grid, Lionel Minguea and Liam Haug in P11 and P12 respectively. 7th row of the grid is Vic van Kampenhout and Koen Willems in P13 and 14 respectively. Here we go then, once again. These drivers don't have to be told to slow down, they have to be told to line up this time round. I'll be waiting for one moment where that marshal won't have to tell them anything. And they'll do everything by themselves. We'll see if that comes through today. But now we look to the 5 red lights, we go into the tram lines, the lights are out, we're underway and racing. And it's a great start for our pole sitter Max Sadurski. Oh, into turn 1, and that is the 272 of Nicolas Marchand that's gone round. There was contact for sure there. He was helped round, that was not on his own. But the 297 of Max Sadurski has kept the lead. Ahead of Bran van der Wekke, who's also dropped down slightly. Now behind him is the 242 of Lars Lambers. What a great start Lars Lambers had then. My goodness. Lars Lambers starting in P5 up to P2 on lap number 1, the 233 behind him. Boris Verhagen, an even better start. He came from P9, he's up into P2. He's up into P1 even. Wide moment for the 242 of Lars Lambers, who went up the inside of Max Sadurski. But wide in the turn 1, and that allows the opportunity for Boris Verhagen to come through in the 233. And from P9, by the time we get to turn 1 for a second time in this race, he is leading. Impressive opening lap by the Dutchman. A bit wide of the apex there though. But he's able to open up even a slight gap to Max Sadurski here. As through we come. To complete lap number 2. Tucked in behind their steering wheel. Human DRS up the inside goes Max Sadurski. And that was from a long way back. Did not expect the move there. To me it looked like Boris Verhagen was too far ahead. But Max Sadurski absolutely licked the stamp and sent it. There's the bump from Boris Verhagen. Still the 242 of Lars Lambers behind that. Lieke van Boekel in P4. Lost 1 spot from the opening lap. As it's now become a 6-horse race here at the front. If they keep fighting as they are, it might become a 7 or 8-horse race here. As up the inside goes the 242 on Boris Verhagen. Now Lars Lambers back up into P2. Liam Haug gaining a couple of positions. Lieke van Boekel losing a couple on that lap. She down to P7. The new best lap for Nicolas Marchand. A 55.927. Oh, up the inside. That's an ambitious move from the 220. Jente Mone. I can tell you that Lionel Minguella will not be happy with that. Oh, there was contact there. And was there a spinner at turn 1? For sure looks like it. That was one of the Tony Kart chassis, I think, being tapped round. Yeah, big trouble there for Bran van der Vekke in the 296. He got tapped round, but still at the front of the field is Max Sadurski. He's genuinely doing a tremendous job of keeping them behind. And as I say that though, there goes the 242 of Lars Lumbers now up into the lead. Oh, big bump by Boris Verhagen. Oh, genuinely pushing everyone through the corner here. Bump drafted in on straights and in corners here, ladies and gentlemen. This heat has gotten feisty early on. And back up into the lead. Oh, goes Max Sadurski. Through comes the 228 of Vince van der Halen. He now makes his way up into P2 for the first time in this race. Remember that Vince van der Halen is the first position driver to win a Grand Final ticket. Up the inside he goes, slams it up the inside, but so does the 233 of Boris Verhagen on Lars Lumbers. And that, look at that, it has allowed the 220 of Jens de Mono to come all the way through to the front. We go 3 wide coming out of the last corner. There's a card off on track. And that was the 228, I think, of Vince van der Halen down to P5. A spinner. Oh no, that is Max Sadurski, who's led this race for such a long time and started on pole, facing the wrong way in the grass. Fuming, Max Sadurski. Not happy at all. But it was bound to happen. He was aggressive at the front of the pack. And maybe also a bit too early in the race in the weekend to be that aggressive. But one thing's for sure, Max Sadurski will not finish this race. Leading the race as it stands is Lars Lumbers. And with Max Sadurski being one of the closest challengers to Vince van der Halen. Oh, another card off. That's the 207. That is Koen Willems. Started at the back of the grid. And he is out. Will also not see the checkered flag in this race. Checkered flag will come out next time by. Lars Lumbers in the 242 has been able to drive away slightly. He'll be able to drive away even further once again. We're 3 wide coming out of the final corner. It was Lieke van Boekel and Jens de Mono fighting for P2. And through went Boris Verhagen. Smart drive so far by Boris, coming out of the final corner, seeing the lurking send up ahead, sensing that there would be an opportunity down the inside of both of them, taking that opportunity when it came. And it's the Tony Kart chassis at the front now. But Lars Lumbers waiting patiently as that is a cart up on another, closing the door, hands up in the air. That is Vince van der Halen, who will also drop down massively. But round the final corner and seeing the checkered flag first is Lars Lumbers in that 242. Boris Verhagen the 233. In second place, Kart stricken. As Vince van der Halen now also comes through. That's the 285 of Lieke van Boekel. Well, that car broke down perfectly after the start-finish line. But that is now 2 KR chassis. Stricken on the start-finish straight. One of them being our pole sitter and long-time race leader, Max Sadurski. Here are the standings then. At the end of this race, Lars Lambers wins ahead of Boris Verhagen, Jente Moon in third, Lieke van Boekel fourth, Devrim Jetter in P5. Then Bran van der Wekke in 6th, Nicolas Masson P7, Justin Vonk in 8th, Lionel Munguia in P9, Vic van Kamphout in P10, Liam Haug in P11 and Vince van der Halen in 12th. But not finishing this race is Koen Willems and Max Sadurski. Koen Willems starting P14 and Max Sadurski starting P1. But both drivers have one thing in common, and that is that they did not see the checkered flag for the end of this race. There was that moment again at the start of the race. The 272 of Nicolas Marchand, who managed to come back to P7 through all of that fighting that happened afterwards. Here we go. Look at this move though. Up the inside goes the 233 of Boris Verhagen. Makes a double pass going into turn 1 and completes a 9th to 1st in 1 lap of the home of champions Karting Genk. Turn 1 a commonplace with how open it is and how wide you have to enter it to just slam your car at the inside and, well, basically park it on the apex. But fighting got fierce, fighting got tough. And fighting at the end of the day became too harsh towards the end of this one. There's another bump on the rear right of Lionel Minguea. And here we go, look at this. 3 wide coming out of the final corner here soon. Look at this battling. Mind you, this is down the Europalaan. And I got 90 to 100 kph here. And we're casually going 3 wide down it. Look at this though. Leaving the room. Well done by Lars Lambers, who kind of just survived in this race. Here we go, here's that 3 wide moment. There is the contact. Lieke van Boekel also caught up in it. And off you go, over the cone, round you go. Front right, done and dusted. Another bump by the 228 of Vince van der Halen. Oh, there you go. This was the last lap of the race, actually. A bit of an ambitious move, I have to say, from Vince van der Halen. Does himself in there. And after all of that, it was Lars Lambers from P5 on the grid who managed to put himself on pole for the pre-final. Alright, up next then here at Karting Genk, it is DD2 and DD2 Masters. Who's eligible for a ticket here then? Lennes has already got one. But Lawrence Herbots and Nicolas Guillem are fighting for that ticket there. Lawrence Herbots has put himself on pole position for this race, with Nicolas Guillem down in P8 on the 4th row of the grid only. That is the fight for that ticket there. Kian de Brandt also involved in that fight still, 12 points back. However though, Kian de Brandt finds himself last on the grid in P11. Loads of work to do for him in this heat. And the only other driver, there are 4 in total that have a chance of a grand finals ticket here in the DD2 class, is Vincent Vankerhoven. Vincent, however, is not here this weekend. You'd be an outsider anyways for the grand finals ticket. But for sure, would have been one to watch out for. Lennes, however, leads the championship ahead of Mika van der Pavet. Mika van der Pavet is second on the grid. And Lennes is in P3. Could get feisty for the championship there. But both of them, like I said, not eligible for a grand finals ticket. Let's have a look at the starting grid then for this race. Lawrence Herbots in P1, head of Mika van der Pavert in P2. Lennes and Wout Kirstjens on the second row of the grid. William Noorbach and Gustav Uzakovs on the 3rd row. Nicolas Klaas and Nicolas Guillem in on the 4th row of the grid. A full Nicolas row on the 4th row. Ralf van der Pavert and Jordi Klaarbout in on the 5th row of the grid. And Kian de Brandt, the only driver on the 6th row of the grid in P11. We round the final corner. We watch the lights. We slowly get rolling into the tram lines. The lights are not out and we're not going racing this time round. Drivers signaling to others as well that there will be a redo of the start. And I think that was because Lawrence Herbots was a little too eager to get this race going. After this heat, we'll have seniors left. And then we'll have a little lunch break before we get going for the last pre-finals and finals of the season. And we crown our champions. Let's try that again, shall we? Nice and slow. Into the tram lines. Don't get going too quickly. That's what happened last time. We look to the 5 red lights. As soon as they go out, we're underway and racing. That's a great reaction time this time round, though, for Lawrence Herbots on the left-hand side of the screen. He keeps P1 going into turn 1. Mika van der Pavert looking behind to take that away from him. Len Nijs and Wout Kirstens also having a look. Around the outside goes the 466 of Wout Kirstens, but can't quite make his way past. 189, Gustav Uzakov's up the inside of him. He's at the front of the field. It is still Lawrence Herbots. In the top 3, breaking away slightly already. And when I say slightly, I mean the slightest. Defensive into cafe corner already. It's coming out of the final corner for the first time today. It is the 198 of Lawrence Herbots leading the way. Behind that, the 486 of Mika van der Pavert. Len Nijs then behind that in P3. 3 points in it between Mika van der Pavert and Len Nijs. Oh, card off in the background, just about able to keep that pointing in the right direction. That might have been Ralf van der Pavert. My goodness, bouncing all over the place, coming off the grass, back on track. It's so difficult to actually control where you go, and as soon as you get onto the grass, I think that was shown there as well. Still coming through, I was going to say. It's the 198 leading the way of Lawrence Herbots, but that's not the case. Up at the P1 goes Mika van der Pavert. He would take away the championship lead from Len Nijs if it stays as it is for the pre-final. But they also know they could ruin their chances for later on by being too aggressive now. On the opposite side, if you're not aggressive enough, you're going to be dropping down and you're going to be left with a lot of work to do later on in the pre-final. Through goes the 446 of Len Nijs. The Latvian of Gustav Uzakov's in P4. He's on the back of Len Nijs, trying to make his way through. As Mika van der Pavert keeps the lead for now. 3 minutes and a lap left. Black and white warning flag for the 444, I think, yeah. The 444 and the 446. That's Nicolas Guillem and Len Nijs, who've both gotten a warning flag here. Len Nijs now down to P4, as up the inside there for a moment. He thought about it, Lawrence Herbots. Couldn't quite make the move stick though on Mika van der Pavert. Up the inside, here comes the Latvian through to P2. Gustav Uzakovs up into second place. Can he take it one step further and take away first place as well? Certainly doesn't look like that will happen this time round. To the final corner we come. Big crash in the background. No! That is Len Nijs, who's, if he can keep it rolling, will still be in this race. Yes, he can. Is there any significant damage to that card? Oh no, he knows it. He knows it. Gonna be left with loads of work to do in the pre-final. Lawrence Herbots, meanwhile, puts in a best lap of the race, 53.856. Back up in the second place goes Lawrence Herbots. And with Len Nijs out of the race, that bodes really, really well for him. Mika van der Pavert, though, still in P1. It's been a great race so far for him. Gustav Uzakovs now has no pressure from behind so far. Oh, big wide moment for Mika van der Pavert. Going on to the last lap of the race. And that was a big moment for Mika. That could well prove costly come the end of this lap. No, there he is. Len has to come in. And Len won't be seeing the checkered flag in this race. That's a tough one. Up the inside of the Europa Laan. Late break-in from Lawrence Herbots to keep Gustav Uzakovs behind. Has allowed Mika van der Pavert to drive away slightly into Cafe Corner. You would say one of your final opportunities on the racetrack. Going into the final turn of the racetrack. Can he take it away from Mika van der Pavert? The answer is no, he can't. Drag race to the line will be won by Mika van der Pavert, who wins the heat race and will put himself on the front row of the grid for the pre-final and will stay there. Started second, finishes first. Gustav Uzakovs started sixth, finishes third. Nicolas Gourlem started 8th, finished 5th, and Jordi Klaarbout started 10th, finished 7th. A couple of drivers making up quite some positions. But Mika van der Pavert wins the race. Kian de Brandt was out. He also had to come in 2 laps before the end. Oh, okay, that's good to know. So Kian de Brandt was actually the driver that came in. And Len Nijs could continue. Both KR chassis. As here's the result. Mika van der Pavert wins ahead of Lawrence Herbots. Gustav Uzakovs in 3rd. Wout Kustjens in P4. Nicolas Gourlem P5. Nicolas Klaas in P6. Jordi Klaarbout in P7. Ralf van der Pavert in 8th. William Norbach in P9. Len Nijs in 10th and not finishing this race. The only driver to do so is Kian de Brandt. Here we go in the highlights. We see again mega start from the 198 Lawrence Herbots. Then shooting it round the outside, truly comes Wout Kirstjens. Sadly not able to keep P2. Had to give that up to Mika van der Pavert. Then he made his move for the lead. And honestly, he never looked back after that. Loads of battling going on behind him. But none of that really concerning him, except this moment in turn 1. Where Laurens Herbots tried to force the issue on him. Instead, he pressurized himself. And through came Gustav Usakovs. More contact then between Laurens Herbots and Mika van der Pavert. Then Gustav Usakov saw his opportunity. Wheel banging between the two. Even more of it. Can't get enough. Forced to the inside. Gustav Usakovs. And that was that then. That mistake on the second to last lap of the race, the penultimate tour. Gave Mika van der Pavert more pressure than he would have liked, but at the end of the day he pulled through. And he's your winner for DD2 and DD2 Masters. Righty then, up next, it's the seniors. And well, how is it looking there? I'll give you quite a simple answer to that. Devian Roest is leading the championship. And he's also on the front row of the grid. But he is alongside the pole sitter and main contender for that grand finals ticket, Mateja Radenkovic. In the 399, second in the championship and first Belgian. Closely followed by Sverre Ubben. Second Belgian in the standings, and then Robbie Storder. Where do they line up though? Mateja Radenkovic lines up in pole with a mega lap. 2/10 quicker than anyone. He did that on the last tour of qualifying. Laid down a marker. Sverre Ubben, he starts in P9 of a total of 25 drivers. It's going to be quite congested into turn 1. That's one thing, that's for sure. And then Robbie Storder. He will start P4 on the grid. Second row for him. So Sverre Ubben, by far the driver furthest back of the top 3, eligible for a grand finals ticket. Alright then, starting grid for this race, because we don't have long. It's a big grid, this one. Mateja Radenkovic and Devian Roest front row of the grid. Boas Maximov and Robbie Storder second row of the grid. Matthias Kjeldrup and Cas Bosses on the third row of the grid. Fourth row of the grid then Ryan Bourguignon and Lex Quintens. Fifth row of the grid Sverre Ubben and Olivier Jonker. Sixth row of the grid Matthias Schanz and Miel Hendricks. Seventh row of the grid Sam Bergstein and Dante Sima. Flynn Vitters and Rijn van der Meer on the 8th row of the grid. Henry Verloo en Matisse Lismond, 9th row of the grid. 10th row of the grid, Tristan Scheijs and Reimer van Beek. 11th row of the grid, Louis Guignon. There you go. Got there eventually. Philip Wisniewski in P22. We look to the 5 red lights. They're underway and we are racing. Into turn 1, pole sitter. The 399 of Matej Radenkovic keeps P1. And the only thing he needs to do here is the qualifying heat and keep that car at the front of the field. There's contact into turn 1 already. One driver stricken on the outside of turn 1. They'll try to remove that. Also a driver stricken on the Europa Laan. And also a couple of cars stricken in turn 5. One has managed to get going again. There's that moment. But leading this race still, after all of that chaos, is Matej Radenkovic, and that's all he needed to do. The 335 of Boaz Maximov in 2nd. Devian Roest down to 3rd. He's leading the championship by 15 points. See if he can keep it in P3. He has a great chance in the pre-final to take home some good points. But that was a chaotic first lap of the senior race. As through we come for the second tour of the circuit. Standings at the moment: Matej Radenkovic, Boaz Maximov, Devian Roest, Robbie Stoorde, Matthias Kjellrup, and Ryan Bourguignon in 6th. That's your top 6 as they run. Sverre Ube down in P10. He would have looked actually to gain some positions off the start of this race, but has dropped back one. Devian Roest just looks so calm in that car, as does Matej Radenkovic, opposite of Boaz Maximov actually. Constantly looking behind, knowing the threat. Oh, and was that a bit of team play between these two drivers? Was that a bit of team play? That looked a little too easy to me for that to be a genuine pass by Devian Roest. He's now the driver having to chase down Matej Radenkovic, 2nd place and 1st place in the championship, in reversed order at the moment in the race. Knowing though that if he can just put himself on the front row of the grid together with him, he'll have just as good of a chance as he basically had in any of the other races. If he can get the jump off the line, that'd be big. Devian Roest, the fastest lap of the race, 54.142. Benefiting from that tow behind Matej Radenkovic. Through he goes. The gap between Devian Roest and Matej Radenkovic has stayed mostly the same throughout this lap. Drivers once again adjusting the air they want to get into the radiators. to keep the engine at optimal running temperatures and get the extra 2 horsepower out of it down the straight. Again, an adjustment there by Devian Roest. Minute 50 to go, and there'll be about 2 laps plus 1 to go by the time they get the start finish. So 3 more laps here for Devian Roest to attack on Matej Radenkovic. Or is Matej Radenkovic going to retain his pole that he got coming into this race? Once again, a small gain for Devian Roest on Matej Radenkovic. About half a tenth of a second this time round. Gap between them, 2.5. Down the Europa line we come. Great shot this. You can see the sheer speed that they arrive with, that they shoot with into the corner. The question for me is, what can Devian Roest do here with 2 laps to go? Looks like he significantly closed that gap up this time around. Well, the answer to that question is not actually. 0.003 of a second the difference over a lap between Matej Radenkovic and Devian Roest. But Devian would also know that keeping himself in this position is worth more than him winning this heat race. Meanwhile, in the background, the 335 of Boaz Maximov is under attack from Robbie Storer. Top 4 at the moment, staying as they were at the start of the race. Biggest gain is in the field. Mick van den Hout up 12 positions. What is it on this lap then? Now he's lost 1 to Miel Hendricks, but Mick van den Hout up 11 positions. He's in 14th on the final lap of the race now. And Devian Roest has significantly closed up that gap this time around. Down the Europa line. Can he try something? Slightly wide, but taking more speed through the second right-hander there. For Matej Radenkovic in the 399 cafe corner. Will he send it? No, he won't. He will stay behind, patiently wait his opportunity. Won't force the issue, will stay P2. They will stay as they were. And Matej Radenkovic wins the heat race, puts himself on pole for the pre-final again. Devian Roest tried everything. And I have a feeling this is going to be an entertaining fight in the pre-final and final, where points are up for grabs. Keep in mind, Devian Roest not eligible for a grand finals ticket, but Matej Radenkovic is. So for Matej Radenkovic, there's more than just the championship in it here. And will that play into the hands of Devian Roest later on? Matej Radenkovic in first for this race, Devian Roest in second, Boaz Maximov in third, and Storer in fourth. They've stayed the same as they started. Matthias Kjellrup also staying in P5 where he started. Then it's Ryan Bourguignon, he gains 1 position. Lex Quintens in 7th, Cas Boshuis in 8th, Sverre Uben in 9th, Dante Sima in 10th, Olivier Jonkers in 11th, Miel Hendricks in 12th, Sam Bergstein in P13, Mick van den Hout in 11th, Rijn van der Meer in 15th. Mick van den Hout, actually P14, gained 11 places. Jamie Dellison in 16th, Matthias Schanz in 17th, Filip Wisniewski in P18, Henry Verlo in 19th, Louis Leriguillon in P20 and drivers not finishing this race is Flynn Futtis, Matthijs Lismon, Tristan Chase, Reimer van Beek, and Nathan Maricho. There you go. Those are the drivers not finishing these races, sadly. However, though, that was it for the morning sessions. We'll be gone for a short little lunch break after the highlights. We'll be back later on, though. If I look at the schedule with the pre-finals and the finals. Pre-finals will start at 13:15 local time. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.